Hey, just to let you know before this video begins, despite the fact that I'm talking about a movie rated PG and created by Disney, this video isn't intended for children. I'm doing a film analysis. This video should not be watched by anyone under the age of 13. Okay, let's continue to the actual video. Alright, let's try something a bit different. Zootopia is a movie created by Disney in 2016, all about anthropomorphic animals. Oh, wait, you want me to go into detail? Okay. So the first thing that immediately jumps out at me is the fact that Disney feels the need to tell us that they made this movie 3 whole times. First, there's the logo telling us this is a Disney movie. Okay, cool. Then immediately after, there's another logo telling us that they animated this movie as well. Fair enough, I guess, but right after that, we're informed yet again that Disney proudly presents this movie. Wow, I never would have known. Thank you so much for telling me, Disney. You're so informative. Okay, but for real, this movie begins with a kind of explanation of this world's version of prehistoric times, explaining how thousands of years ago, prey lived in fear of predator. Not because predators eat their prey to survive or anything. No, it's because predators had
an uncontrollable biological urge to maim and maul.
Notice the way she's explaining what predators were. Keep that in mind, it'll be important later for this film's message. Anyway, this opening talent show is pretty much this movie's tutorial segment, explaining why anything is happening. In this world, animals evolved from being regular animals as we know them to pretty much regular humans but with animal characteristics. So, anthropomorphic animals. They stand on 2 feet, talk, use things, have hands, use hands, live in buildings, but they're still animals, and so the world has to be designed around being accessible to specific animals. The opening play doesn't specifically state that last part, but it does establish that this world is indeed a world full of animal people. If you're hoping this video would be full of furry jokes, then prepare to be disappointed. I'm not creative enough for that. Side note, I find these suits that they're wearing in the play a little weird. Like, I'm aware that in this world, they wear clothes because they're civilized and they can't just perform or play naked. However, I can't imagine wearing a jumpsuit of your own naked body is really that much better. As this talent show presentation continues, we have more important things established to us. We're informed that prey and predator animals are still called prey and predator. We're informed that they coexist peacefully, unless you're southern. We're informed that our main character, Judy, wants to become a police officer despite there never being a bunny cop. And we're informed that there's a city that's pretty much a utopia where all species of animals coexist and it's a place where anyone could be anything. Oh, I get it. Utopia. Zootopia. You get an A+ for your clever writing. No, but seriously though, this is actually a pretty good opening. It disguises this huge exposition dump in a clever way, that being a play made by our main character. It's going over both the history of this world as well as this character's motivation, and considering it's a history play made by our main character, it all makes sense. Also, I mentioned earlier how in Zootopia, anyone can be whatever they want. Despite that though, this tiger kid wants to be an actuary. Who hurt you? Now, when you watch this movie as many times as I have, you really start noticing all the small details the creators of this movie put in. Like, for example, I really like the attention to detail the animators put into making the play. I love all the small little things they put into this play to make it seem like actual kids created it. Like, there's an intentional, charming shittiness to it all. Also, despite there probably being thousands of animals in this movie, the animators made sure to give each of them their own little details as well. There's a part I didn't mention where Judy reenacts being killed by a tiger, so she pretends to bleed everywhere. Not only can you see her parents' reaction to this, but even looking at the animals out of focus, you can see their reactions. As you can see, everyone is a mix of either shocked, concerned, or in disbelief. Except for this kid, who seems to be really digging shit. Also, as the play concludes, Judy says,
"Thank you and good night."
And then it immediately cuts to a shot outside in daylight. There's no way anyone working on this movie could miss something like that, so I choose to believe that she only said that just because she thinks that people always end plays like that.
Judy, you ever wonder how your mom and me got to be so darn happy?
Nope.
Anyway, the play concludes and her parents now know that Judy wants to become a cop. However, they don't really want her to become a cop, either due to a fear of her failing or because rabbits aren't supposed to be cops.
Bunnies don't do that.
Never.
Never.
So they start talking to her about how they had dreams, and then they gave up on them, and how you should too.
We gave up on our dreams and we settled. Right, Bon?
Oh, yes, that's right, Stu. We settled hard.
They pretty much just say, don't follow your dreams, but in a nice way. They also say that she should instead partake in the family business of being a carrot farmer, along with all 200 of her siblings.
Your dad, me, your 275 brothers and sisters.
How do you keep track of that many people? Anyway, Judy wasn't really listening to them, as halfway through the little speech thing, she notices a bully messing around with a couple of animals. This kid, Gideon, who is only the second Gideon in a Disney property to be an asshole, took these kids tickets that they got from this Carrot Festival thing in town.
Nice costume, loser.
Oh shit.
Judy and Gideon then have a small scurry where they kind of beat each other up, and it eventually culminates in Gideon holding her down and telling her she's worthless and that she'll never make anything of herself.
Remember this next time you think you will be anything more than just a stupid carrot farming bunny.
Also, just to let you know, in case you're confused, yes, I did cut up certain segments of that little part because I'm reviewing a movie on YouTube, and so I have to keep the clips as short as possible. Otherwise, this video will be claimed and blocked because of content ID. It's a lot more annoying for me than it is for you, trust me. The bullies then walk away as Shooty gives their tickets back. Let me just say that's complete bullshit. There's no way he would have not seen her take them. He's literally holding her down, and we don't see any kind of hand movement with the hand she has them in the next shot.
Wow! You got our tickets!
You think she doesn't know that? Anyway, 15 years go by and she never gives up on her dreams and actually makes it to police school. Also, this simple text right here establishes that in this world, the life expectancy of animals is much longer now that they're civilized. Otherwise, 15 years would have certainly killed Judy's parents. Anyway, it's here that we get a 2-minute montage of Judy sucking at pretty much doing anything and then succeeding after reading a book while doing sit-ups. Obviously, I know that there's more they're not showing us, but half of this montage is failure. And then after these 2 shots, we see her succeed with 2 tests. I don't know, this probably could have afforded to be a bit longer. Maybe show her succeeding at the other 2 district tests she failed. Regardless though, in the next shot it's told to us by the mayor of Zootopia that Judy is now of historical value.
ZPD's very first rabbit officer, Judy Hopps.
Also, just want to mention this lion mayor, who is named Leodore Lionheart, is voiced by J.K. Simmons, which has nothing to do with anything. I just really like J.K. Simmons. Not for any intelligent reason, though. I just like him in Gravity Falls and Portal 2. It's also here that we find out about Judy's epic and very inspired pun of a last name.
Judy Hopps.
In the next scene, Judy's parents are saying goodbye to her as she waits for the train heading to Zootopia. As they're doing that, her dad takes lots of effort to remind her to fear predators.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
And also bears, lions and wolves, weasels. Pretty much all predators, and Zootopia's full of them. And foxes are the worst.
Clearly here, so Judy has the animal equivalent of a racial bias, so the racial allegory makes a bit more sense. Oh yeah, this movie has a racial allegory. They also give her a bunch of shit that I'm surprised is even allowed to be made in this kind of world. Like, that's just a straight up fucking taser you're supposed to use on one specific type of person. How did this even hit stores? What kind of fucked up black market are they attending? Anyway, she only ends up taking the fox repellent just to make her parents shut up. She then escapes her family and boards the train to Zootopia. And then Judy puts on some music for the montage. However, instead of playing Guns and Rodents, or Fur Fighters, or Beagles Judy instead plays this movie's equivalent to Shakira, because she's played by Shakira, even though those other choices seem far more interesting, and also this song is really bland and uninteresting and kind of sucks. It's obviously here just to sell a soundtrack or a single or whatever, and it's not really anything that special. This isn't even a musical. Nobody breaks into song even as a joke. The only original music in this movie is background music, and this. Why? The good thing about this sequence, though, is we get to see some world building. We get to learn how exactly a world full of anthropomorphic animals would work. For example, throughout the city, there's different weather types for specific animals. There's different types of cars, there's special machines like this cup thing for taller animals, and these small hamster pipes for the rodents. The train has 3 different sizes for the 3 different types of animals. There's this drying place for animals that travel through the water. It's all really thought out. I also want to appreciate how much is shown in this train ride sequence. Remember, this is an animated movie, and that means they had to animate everything you see, and I just find that infinitely impressive because there is so much just in this one montage alone. There's even things that I don't even think the creators intended for you to notice. Like in this shot of Judy walking into the city, you can just see out of focus a scout troop here for no other reason than to just give this movie a bit more flavor. The people who made this movie clearly cared, and I really appreciate that. And getting back to the animation, as a whole, it's absolutely fantastic. The lighting effects are amazing and always fit the scene that they're in. The character designs are great, and more importantly, everyone is different, which is more than I can say about other animal movies. There's some really great texture work too on the animals. The fur and the wool and the hair in this movie looks excellent. Yet again, the world design is amazing, and they really seem to take into account how some animals will get around in this world. And the animation as a whole is really appealing to look at. It's not stiff or boring. The animals move around energetically, and it looks good. And that's honestly all I can really say about the animation. It's just great. Alright, that's enough positivity for me right now. Jesus, how do people live like this, calling things good or well made? It's disgusting. Anyway, back to the movie. As soon as Judy heads into the town, we get immediate whiplash from that train scene because Judy's apartment is an absolute shithole. Like, there's no bathroom here, or stove, or fridge, or faucet, or really anything. So I guess this is just a big house and everyone gets their own room or something. I don't know, maybe you're just supposed to bring your own fridge and you just shit on the floor or something. At least Judy doesn't seem to be bothered by the lack of anything at all. As she leaves the next morning, she debates on whether to take the fox spray with her, and chooses to do so for some reason. I mean, yeah, she has a bias that was established earlier, and that's why she took it, but I would think you wouldn't want to take that just in case somebody sees you with it. Anyway, she makes it to the police station and talks to the receptionist, who is in disbelief that they actually hired a bunny.
OM goodness. They really did hire a bunny.
He also calls her cute, which I guess is a big no-no to call bunnies.
A bunny can call another bunny cute, but when other animals do it, it's a little...
I do want to say that I find it a little amusing how she's informing someone to not use her word, while at the same time having fox repellent on her tool belt. I mean, there's a possibility that was intentional to make her seem more hypocritical or whatever, but the way the movie frames it just kind of makes it seem a little confused. Also, in this shot, a donut just appears in the cheetah's neck, even though it wasn't there in the previous shots. That's a pretty easy fix. If you're able to animate a whole city, I'm sure compositing a donut into the previous shots isn't impossible. Anyway, Judy eventually makes it to our police briefing. During this police briefing, we're introduced to our police chief, Bogo. It's here that we're informed of the city's 14 missing mammals, which will be important for later in the movie. After Bogo assigns everyone to their duties, which is to look for the missing mammals, that just leaves Judy left, who is put on parking duty. I know with the way the movie portrays it, it's kind of saying that Bogo doesn't think Judy's capable of doing real jobs, but I'd kind of assume that kind of thing would be many cops' first assignments, you know, to ease them in a bit. Something else I think is worth pointing out is how the chief puts on reading classes when assigning the cops their jobs. Again, that's a neat little detail. I'm not exactly sure if that's some extra characterization or just intended to be a gag because, oh, this big strong buffalo needs reading glasses, but regardless, it's a neat detail, so whatever. Anyway, because she doesn't want to be known as the token bunny officer on the squad, she makes it a mission to outdo all of the one expectation Chief Bogo had for her.
Sir, I'm not just some token bunny.
Well, then writing 100 tickets a day should be easy.
And she vows to write 200 parking tickets before noon. Also, just to show how much the police station cares, look at what they gave her. I can almost guarantee you that they modeled this car after those foot-powered cars to give the babies. So then we get a small montage of Judy handing out a bunch of parking tickets, because our protagonist can't be too likable. Also, as Judy's handing out tickets, there's a part where you can pause that shows Zootopia is apparently a state and not just a city. What's the point of me saying that? Well, none really. Anyway, after the montage of Judy handing out tickets, she notices a fox looking suspicious. Actually, wait, I want to talk about what happens before this. Judy's parking meter expires, but instead of just leaving, she decides to give herself a ticket. Just leave. Anyway, back to focus. The fox heads into an ice cream joint where he's refused service by the elephant that runs it because he's sus.
I don't know what you're doing skulking around during daylight hours. I don't want any trouble in here. So hit the road.
Anyway, this fox, later revealed to be named Nick, is actually not looking for any trouble, and he's simply here to buy an elephant-sized popsicle for his son, who really wants to be an elephant when he grows up. Yeah. Anyway, Judy, who was gonna draw her fox spray on him, realizes that she was just being dumb and leaves because who she thought was some kind of trickster just turned out to be a regular innocent dad. Also, I just want to note here, and this will be semi-important for later, the fox spray is no longer visible, presumably because it's under her vest. Anyway, Nick is still being refused service, so Judy goes to intervene. After letting the elephants know they're being absolutely fucking disgusting, Judy buys a jumbo pop for Nick and his son because he forgot his wallet at home, and they go their separate ways. Also, notice how this is an ice cream place in a world of anthropomorphic animals? Either this is a massive oversight, cows in this world are just fine with giving away their juices, or this is just evidence that the writers thought of every possible food that could have a vegan substitute, and so they wrote this into the movie to demonstrate that. Anyway, we cut to a shot of Judy doing more ticket work as she sees the elephant kid on her patrol. Through this, it's actually revealed that Nick is a popsicle hustler, as the movie calls it. He uses the juice of the big popsicles to make his own popsicles, and then he uses the wood from it for lumber delivery. Also, Nick's son isn't actually his son, he's a business partner, and he's actually like 50 or something, despite the fact that he looks like he's 2.
I'll bite your face off.
I hate how they don't take that last jug, by the way. Or at least given the timing of the scene, it makes it look like they didn't take it. Also, apparently he's been doing this for a long time.
I've been doing this since I was born.
But he's not regularly asked about the color of the wood because of this reaction.
That's redwood.
Also, I'm not exactly sure why he's having so much trouble with the ice cream place if he does this regularly. I guess he just went to another place for some reason. Or maybe it was just a different clerk. When Judy finds out about this, she's kind of mad and also attempts to arrest him, despite the fact that there's nothing to arrest. And it's because of this attempted arrest that Nick makes Judy's life seem meaningless. He basically takes everything that Judy's believed since she was a child.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. Naive hick with big ideas decide I'm gonna move to Zootopia, where predators and prey live in harmony, only to find, whoopsie.
And then gives her a reality check and tells her that nobody cares about her or her feelings, and she sucks.
We don't all get along. That dream of becoming a cop, whoopsie. She's a meter maid. No one cares about her or her dreams. Soon enough, those dreams die, till finally she has no choice but to go home with that tail between her legs to become a carrot farmer. Everyone comes to Zootopia thinking they can be anything they want. You can't. You can only be what you are. Sly Fox, dumb bunny. You'll never be a real cop.
Also, he calls her carrots, which she's against the first time.
You're gonna want to refrain from calling me carrots.
But as the movie progresses, she doesn't seem to care for some reason. After Nick does the thing he just did, she returns home all sad, realizing that the perfect world she had foreseen for the past 24 years may not be as good as she thought. I also want to mention that this movie, despite sort of trying to fight against stereotypes, still has Judy eat carrots. Or just a carrot, I guess. Well, I mean, she doesn't eat it, but this movie has Judy interested in eating carrots. I'm sure plenty of people know this by now, especially if you have a bunny of your own, but still, it's worth mentioning. Carrots aren't really the best things for bunnies. They will eat them, but they're like junk food because they are full of sugar. Don't feed your bunny a bunch of carrots, they will probably die. Anyway, Judy then gets a call from her parents. They take notice of the vest Judy's wearing and they just kind of celebrate about how she's not a real cop in front of her because apparently they don't know what subtlety is.
Holy cripes, Bonnie, look at that.
Oh my, are you a meter maid?
Oh, no!
It's the safest job on the force.
Our prayers have been answered. Meter maid, meter maid, meter maid.
Dad!
They're only really in this scene to serve as a reminder that Judy feels like a failure right now.
You know, in case it wasn't already obvious.
Good morning, USA. I got a feeling that it's gonna be a wonderful. My name is Cleveland Brown, and I am proud to be.
Okay, so while I was editing that little meme thing, I noticed something kind of weird about this scene. Between the time that she gets home to making a microwave meal to then talking to her parents, it's all apparently 8:39. But when she's talking to her parents, now it's 8:40. And then in this one shot of her putting down her phone, it's now 9:44. But then it cuts back to the alarm clock and it says 8:40 again. What? The next day happens to be equally as worse as the previous.
My mommy says she wishes you were dead.
However, a shop that she happened to be parked next to gets robbed by someone. So Judy finally has an excuse to be a real cop and starts chasing after the thief. As they're running, they head into a town of rodents, and so Judy and the weasel are much bigger now in comparison to everything else. Also, there's this other rhino cop that's mad at her for pursuing the weasel, despite the fact that the rhino's like 5 times bigger than both of them, and they're in the rodent city. Riddle me this, rhino. How the fuck are the other cops supposed to get in there without destroying everything? Idiot. Anyway, this is the first action scene of the movie, which there's a surprising amount of. Basically, Judy is going after the weasel, and they have to maneuver around all these features of the town because it's much smaller. It's well choreographed, entertaining, and pretty easy to follow. However, I'm not really sure how accurate the size difference is here. Like, are hamsters and mice really that much smaller than a bunny? Also, Judy saves this rodent from a giant donut. Keep that in mind for later. Also, I just want to point this out because I thought it was cool. When Judy's finally chasing after a criminal, she's surrounded by rodents, giving her a bigger appearance, and people have to look up to her. However, most times before and after this, she's surrounded by bigger animals who don't approve of her, and they are looking down at her, both metaphorically and literally. That's a neat detail that I really hope was intentional, otherwise I just wasted my time telling you that. This whole segment does make me think that if there was an animal that was really genocidal and wanted to kill a bunch of people, they could just, like, drive their car or blowtorch this rodent town and just cause mass extinction. Alright, the final thing I want to mention is, if there was never a bunny cop, then how would there be law enforcement in the smaller areas of town? The only cops we've seen so far are super huge. Anyway, Judy catches the weasel in a donut and brings him into the police station. However, the chief wants to talk to her.
Cops!
He chews her out for abandoning her car, inciting a scurry, and endangering a bunch of animals just to stop a bad guy from stealing a bunch of flower bulbs that look like onions, saying that it's not her job to get the bad guys, it's her job to put tickets on cars, because he never wanted her assigned to him in the first place.
I want to be a real cop.
Do you think the mayor asked what I wanted when he assigned you to me?
Oh, also, after that, Chief Bogo says this.
Life isn't some cartoon where you sing a song and your dreams magically come true.
So let it go.
Yeah, Disney, you're so... I don't even know how to respond to that. Anyway, during their meeting, an otter comes and interrupts their conversation. How the hell did she open that door? It's like 10 times her size. Anyway, this otter is the wife of one of the missing animals in the city we established earlier.
His name is Emmett Otterton.
You think he doesn't know that? Also, the cheetah tried stopping her but couldn't catch up, which is a funny joke because cheetahs are usually fast, but this one isn't because he's fat and he loves food, so he can't go fast, and he's actually slow because he's fat and he loves food. Isn't that so inspired? He's fat. Judy offers to help find Emmett Otterton, which the wife is happy about, and like the caring and kind person he is, Bogo tells her to fuck off because he hates Judy.
You're fired.
What? Why?
Insubordination.
Clearly establishing some sort of villain status for the movie. However, the assistant mayor is there for some reason and is happy to see her helping find the otter. Also, apparently she tells the mayor, which will be a point of discussion later, so keep that in mind. Anyway, because of the assistant mayor's approval, the chief gives Judy 48 hours to solve the case, or she has to resign. And yeah, that's kind of the plot for the second act of the movie. There's a missing person mystery that Judy has to solve. The only problem, the case barely has anything on it.
Yikes! That is the smallest case file I've ever seen. Oh, I hope you didn't stake your career on cracking this one.
However, there is a picture with it. A picture that shows Emmett eating a popsicle, which only means one thing. If Judy wasn't hustled by Nick, then she'd be out of a job. Oops, you made it to the end of part 1 of this 3-part video. If you're wondering why this video is being split into parts, believe me, I would have made it one long video. It's just that the longer the video goes, the more of a chance it gets copyright claimed. So I literally have no other choice than to split this video up into parts, so otherwise you'd probably be seeing this video in September. However, if part 2 is already out, you can just click the video that's on the screen right now. I don't know why you're still here. I mean, unless part 2 isn't out yet. But considering that's only going to be the case for like 2 or 3 weeks, and this video may be up for years, you know, just click the video to continue watching the review. Please. I worked for actual weeks on this. Please.